So, I'm going to drama school next week. You're going to want to put the kettle on. Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. It actually did. If you follow me on Instagram, and you should be, it's a lot of fun, you will have seen that I got an audition to study musical theatre, I was offered a place to study musical theatre, and I couldn't accept it. Well, plot twist, I'm going, and I start on Monday, as in this Monday, as in the 9th. I am going to be training to be an actor. I say those words and I feel elated and terrified and a little bit sick. Imagine every human emotion, all of them, at once. This might be the first time you're seeing my face. If it is, hi, I'm Dan. The best way I can describe myself is I'm the cousin you're relieved to see at the family wedding who somehow always has a glass of rosé ready to hand you. But if you've been around for a while, and I've been around for a while, you'll know that my dream has been to be a working actor. And it's a dream I've chased to varying degrees of success, all of which has been documented in over 10 years of being a YouTuber. And speaking of degrees, after all that, after so many years of coming close, of throwing in the towel, on Monday, I will begin to study for a master's degree in musical theatre at Mountview in London. Unless it's a scam, which I'm not 100% sure it's not. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how in the hell this happened, why it's taken me to the age of 34 to do this, and what this means for the channel and what we're gonna be doing going forward. So, brew in hand, put your feet up. How did we get here? Let's start at the very beginning, because it's a very good place to start. When I was a kid, stay with me, I was distraught to see on my television screen a man in an episode of a television program called Neighbours who was not doing well in a medical sense. And at a tender age of, I'm gonna say 5, this was traumatic. And I'm crying and I'm pleading with my mum and I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, don't worry, it's not real. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not real. And she's like, they're just acting. I was inconsolable. The show ends, I'm being soothed. My mum is doing a brilliant job of bringing me back to center, calming me right down. And as I get there, I go, oh. So tell me more about this acting thing. And yeah, pretty much since then, I spent my entire teen years in youth theatre, the Hazlitt Youth Theatre in Maidstone, represent. Any opportunity. I moved schools at sixth form to study drama, that's where I met Chloe. Here we are acting phenomenally. And then it came time to take the next step in life and go off to university. I'm 18, I apply for drama schools and I receive offers of auditions. And I get the letters that say, come on this day, prepare this. And the only way I can explain it is to say that my body and being and self-esteem conspired to push it as far away as possible. And I didn't go. I said no. I was just utterly convinced that I wasn't going to get it. I was afraid of the people I was going to meet. I was afraid there would be egos and there would be bitchiness. And I just didn't go. Not only did I not go to drama school, I didn't go to university. I went and took a job for a year. And then I followed Chloe up to Lincoln, which is where I met everybody. The nucleus of British YouTube is in the University of Lincoln. And I ended up doing an abundance of acting because I would be in everyone's student films. And then with YouTube, I would do sketches. I would do voice work. And I start my own YouTube channel. And we have a bit at uni where whenever I meet someone and find out they're doing a student film or whatever, I go over and go, hi, Daniel J. Layton, actor. And so that's where the phrase Daniel J. Layton, actor came from. And for the first sort of 5 years of my channel, that's what it was. YouTube in those days was not a place where you would find a career. It was a place where you would put things in pursuit of a different career. Maybe I could ride this like new media revolution, this digital wave to crash into this massively traditional industry. Maybe I could forge a new path. Like, okay, so some of these doors aren't open, so I'll just make a new door. And I tried it, and it didn't work. And then we went into a pandemic, and that was a real bitch. So I kind of had a crisis. So I realized during the pandemic that I had spent a long time chasing my backup plan instead of chasing my dream. And I think I started to resent it, and I think I started to feel a bit complicated about it. It's why I dropped the word actor. Daniel J. Layton actor stopped being a thing because I felt like saying that I was an actor when I wasn't working was fraudulent. Even though it was supposed to be aspirational, it was manifesting, it was an intent, it felt, to be honest, it felt embarrassing. I built a really lovely community on YouTube who were incredibly supportive, and I felt like I was letting everyone down. And I just didn't know what I was gonna do. And then I started thinking about, oh, The world has changed a little bit since I graduated. I've changed a little bit since I graduated. And I started looking into master's degrees, and I looked at Royal Welsh in Cardiff, and I looked at Mountview, and for about 3 or 4 years, I looked at them and felt, it's not the right time. This isn't the right time because of this. It's not the right time because of this. I don't want to do distance learning. I just moved into a new flat. Ooh, I'm doing well with some of my presenting stuff, so maybe I'll just follow that for a little bit longer, build up a bit of money, and then try again. It was excuse after excuse after excuse. So I had resolved no more excuses. In the 2025 cycle, I will audition. I'd missed this year, and I was looking ahead to September 2025 as my intent to start my degree somewhere. And then... So picture the scene. I'm sat in the offices of Wrestle Talk, the pro wrestling podcast I present for, and we've just finished a show, and I open Instagram, and I get a targeted ad. It's for Mountview, and it says, "We have places for September open if you want to apply." Interesting. Bookmarked that in my head. And I went home that night and I thought about it, and I sent a few voice notes to my friend Reb, who was incredibly helpful for this whole process. You get yourself a friend like Reb. And I was like, I don't know if it's right to apply. I don't think I'd have the time. I don't think I'd have the money, but maybe it would be a good experience to audition. What should I do? I'm being indecisive because I'm the world's most indecisive person. She sort of said, apply. Worst thing is they say no, or maybe they say yes, you get to do the audition, and then you can answer the questions about whether or not you should take the place once you've done it, but you can't ask the question until you've answered the first one. And it did make sense to me at the time, so I went, yeah! And then I sat down and thought about it for another 4 days, and on the day of the deadline, I had applied to do a comedy lab at Soho Theatre, and I was on such a fit of pique, such moxie in applying for this comedy lab, that I was like, maybe I'll just send it to Mountview as well. And I went on the website and the link wasn't there. And I was like, oh, I must have missed the deadline, or they closed it early, or they filled their spaces. I guess that's just how it goes, never mind. But then I spotted an email. I just dropped them a little email. I was like, oh, just wondering if I've like absolutely missed the deadline. No worries if not, classic. And they replied being like, yeah, the deadline was 10 a.m, but don't worry. Here's the link and here's the information you need. Send us an audition by Monday at 10 a.m. And this was on a Friday. So I sat down and I read through everything, and it seemed really achievable. I had to do 2 speeches, 1 Shakespeare verse and 1 modern monologue. Because it was musical theatre, I had to do 2 songs, and then there was a dance that I had to learn. And I assume if you do it in the traditional march way, it would be do the speeches and the songs, and then if you get through that, you'll do a dance camp situation. I believe that's usually how it goes. But obviously, because everything was so last minute, it was like, do all of this weekend. Good luck. And obviously I panicked, and my body was telling me it was just too much too soon, push it away. But then I was like, hang on, maybe I can do this. This might be worth the challenge. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But I had plans on the Saturday, so I really only had the Sunday to do it. So that was one of the most intense days of my life. Here's what happened. I chose to do the monologue, "What a Piece of Work is a Man" from Hamlet, because it's one that I did on my channel, it's in my head, it's just what a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty. It's just there, I could rattle it off, I didn't need to do any extra work. And I was all ready to do that, and then the night before, I woke up and realised, oh crap, it's in prose. So I had to change course and picked one from Othello, which is a show I absolutely adore. I saw a production with Ewan McGregor at the Donmar Warehouse. So I had to learn that and get my head around it, practiced it the night before, then woke up on the Sunday, set up sort of self-tape situation, and did it. And let's see, then it says I play the villain when this advice is free. I give, and honest, probable to thinking, and indeed, the course to win them more again. Then I did a monologue from Don Juan in Soho, which is a 2006 play by Patrick Marber. It's a monologue I've actually done on my channel as well. We live in an age of apology. Don't confuse it with authenticity. At least my lies are honest. At least I know when I'm lying and why I'm doing it. Again, stick with what you know when you're on a time limit. While I was going about my business on the Saturday, I had a playlist of songs that I might pick from, and I chose Anthem from Chess, I chose Empty Chairs, Empty Tables from Les Mis, Step 1 from Kinky Boots, and The Wild Party. It's a song called I'll Be Here. And then I realised I was going to have to be singing them with a piano track on my laptop in an empty room in a close-up self-tape situation with no acoustics to speak of. And that really helped me pick which songs I was going to do, because I thought I'd do Step 1. It's a nice rocky number, it's a little bit upbeat, it's a very different vocal style to the Empty Chairs Anthem situation, so it would provide a really nice contrast. But, oh, it just felt so cringe. Let's rock and roll, just put one foot. It's a brilliant show that I absolutely love, but in the context of my living room, it was like Dad Rock the musical. So we went with The Wild Party, nice and easy. When you fail, I can soothe you. Empty Chairs felt like such a not a cliche, but it's the go-to. It's the one every young theatre kid boy imagines themselves singing one day because we all want to be Marius, even though he's an absolute drip. So I thought I'd go with Anthem, but Anthem is so slow. Can possess, conquer my country's heart. And again, the context of just the tinkling piano coming out of my laptop, being filmed on my phone, in my living room, it just wasn't the right feel. It didn't feel good singing it. So sod it, empty chairs, empty tables, mate. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Phantom faces at the windows. Amazing, just a few more hours and I'll be done. How great. All I have to do is learn this dance. So I sat down and watched the dance routine and it was a Charleston. Yeah, easy peasy, I'll pick that up, no worries. Dancing is hard. It's the knees and this business. This is harder than I thought it was gonna be. Oh boy. It's the tap in the head and rubbing the belly. I didn't choose, I was assigned one of the hottest days of August to do this in my flat that gets the sun all evening. And it's a bit of a greenhouse, but that's fine. Never before have I watched a bead of sweat form on my forehead, drip down my nose, and land on the floor with a splash. I didn't think that happened in real life, but let me tell you it did. Thank the ever-living Lord for my beloved her indoors, who is a dancer. She's done loads of pantos in our hometown. She loves this style of dancing. And actually, we ended up going upstairs to the rooftop because it was so much cooler up there in the nighttime air than it was in our flat. And she'd watch me do the routine. She'd help me understand the rhythm and remember the steps in what order. And once again, I felt incredibly supported and loved by the people in my life. This is a theme that will come back in a moment. So I finally got it down, came back downstairs, filmed the tape, decided to add a little bit of comedy in there just for, you know, banter. Then I watched Drag Race for 2 hours to decompress, put together all the material, sent it off at about 1 in the morning, and then went about my day. And then the next day I got offered a place. I would say the rollercoaster of emotions I went on after receiving an offer of a place to study musical theatre at Mountview would not be passed as safe for human experience. The ups and downs were too sharp, too many loop-de-loops, people would fall out. The initial feeling was obviously like, oh my God, I did it. I'm in. And that was sort of quickly replaced by the crushing reality of finance. A master's degree is not inexpensive, and for a musical theatre degree, there's an extra amount of money plonked on top of that because of the resources, because of the face time involved. It's a very intense course, and that means it's got a very intense price tag. And so suddenly, all of the questions that Rev and I had said we don't need to worry about just yet, well, now I had to. And I was aware that you could get a master's degree loan. I noticed in the email that they'd offered a potential for a payment plan, so I replied and said, would we be able to discuss that? And then I did a little bit more research into the student loan, and that seemed a little bit more accessible to me. But then I found out how student loans are paid. They're also paid in installments, which means that I couldn't budget my money and then do the work in the interim time to find the rest of the funding. And with every passing second, I felt the deadline to make a decision getting closer and closer and closer. My friends Laurie and Chloe came round. We had a big bolognese and talked about everything. And in the end, I just didn't think it was feasible because it's not just the cost of study. We also have to live. I'm in a relationship, we live together, we're looking at future together, and that's a very serious and wonderful thing. But it also means this wasn't just my decision, it was hers as well. Because with it being such a full-on course, I'm limited in the amount of work I can take on, which means that a lot of the financial burden is maybe going to fall on her for the next year. So we had some very serious conversations, some very teary conversations, all founded in love and support, and she was actually the one who was pushing me to do it, and I'm sat there going, but I don't want my dreams to come at the expense of your anxiety and stress. All of that stuff. I'm trying not to sugarcoat it because it was a really painful week of trying to make a decision. So we reflected and thought about everything, and I made the decision that it wasn't the right time. I tried to spin it in a positive way. I tried to feel as positive about it as possible. I wasn't gonna go this year anyway. That wasn't in the original plan. The plan was always for next year. By thinking of next year, I could open my possibilities up. I haven't auditioned for places like the Royal Welsh College in Cardiff, which is somewhere that I'd come to be really intrigued by. And I'd give myself time to save money, prep. We were talking about potentially moving at the end of the year. We could think about all of it and make a more informed decision with a little bit more time. Maybe it's just not the right time. And I just got offered a place in drama school. So clearly I have something, and I can keep that in my head and take that into the next audition cycle. So So I posted this on YouTube and I sort of made my peace with it, and everyone was incredibly supportive and helpful, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the people I know in my real life and for all of you who are coming along and nattering away with me on the internet. And then I get a phone call from a friend of mine, and this is where I want to preface what I'm about to say with a deep, fundamental understanding and acknowledgement of my privilege. But I get a phone call from my friend who says, what's this about you not going to drama school? We talked about it for a long time, and he was so understanding. And this is a friend, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want a privacy thing, but he's known me for my entire adult life. He's seen me through everything. He's seen my ups and my craters. It's not just downs. We've been through some shit. In all of it, he's been there. And he sort of said, I've watched you try so hard and you're so close, and I don't want you to spend more time doing something I know you're not passionate about when you could live your dream, basically. And he said, how can I help? And we talked about it for a long time, and he is gonna help me with the rest of the tuition. And that is so generous and, and it's not a gift, it's not a handout. This is someone who I've worked with and continue to work with, and I've always had a great deal of respect. We've done so much together, in front of camera, off camera. It's very much a loan that I will be paying back as quickly and as enthusiastically as I can. But it's a way of getting me over the line and matching it in with my payment plan. It means that I can study, and I have to figure out how to do the rest of staying alive during this year. But to get me through the door and to get me enrolled on this course, I cannot tell you how special it is. And that's another thing that's another friend. And again, it's so rare. This is not the normal thing. Not many people have an opportunity like that. Not many people are privileged enough to have someone so generous in their life who is able to support them. I take it incredibly seriously, and it's just another reason that I'm throwing myself so headlong into this. And I'm so grateful, and I want to do right by him and all of you. It's enough to get me in the door. In terms of keeping myself going, I have to keep working alongside my course. So let's talk about that. We're cutting to editing down now because I very helpfully forgot to press record. Obviously, I have to work alongside this degree. I have to make money. We have to afford to live. I'm quite lucky in that regard because, well, I've been doing this for so long. So I know how to work remote, and I know how to work to my own schedule. I'm not the best at it, but I can make it happen. And I can't tell you the freedom that has opened up in my mind now that I feel like I found my purpose again. One of the reasons I've struggled so much as a YouTuber, especially over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, is because I have felt like I want to fit myself into the mold of what people want a YouTuber to be. And I never wanted to be that. Because I think when I started uploading videos, you couldn't be that. That wasn't a thing. People now enter the YouTube space because that's what they want their career to be. And I think that is incredible, and I love watching them. But for me, it was always in pursuit of something else. And I love all of the videos that I've made over the past few years, but it's no surprise to me that the one that has done the best, in fact, my best video that's not baking with Leighton in years, was about musical theatre, because what happens when you talk about the thing you love? So now that I'm going to school, my primary focus is going to be on training. This can become my side hustle again, which frees me up completely because I don't have to worry about it all coming crumbling down, even though I know that it's not going to come crumbling down because that's not what we're here for. But you know, it's an anxiety we all have. At some point, you get old on the internet, people move past you. But now I don't feel like I have to chase a particular trend or I have to be on the next big thing, because my focus is this, and I can bring you along for the ride, and I can just share what's going on in my life, which was the whole point of this channel to begin with. We're back, lads. When I was first sharing that I wasn't going to take the place at drama school on Instagram, a lot of you were asking how you could support me. So let's talk about that. First of all, thanks loads, I love you. Second of all, the way you can support me the best is just engaging. Watch this stuff, put it on in the background, like it on Instagram, share it with your mates. Obviously, I'm gonna try and earn it. Like I don't want you to just share tat with your mates and be like, look, help Dan out, he needs it. But engagement is what lets the gods know that people should see that I'm worthy. And that will make the brands look at me and go, oh, let's monetize the shit out of this guy. I am open for business, honey. So if you are a social media manager or if you know someone who is in digital marketing, hit me up. Dan Layton's master's degree, brought to you by, insert your brand here. Who could this be? It could be you. Do you remember that? It could be you. The lottery. Anyway, and the third way is over on Patreon. I am relaunching my Patreon. It is live. I hope now, if I've done my job right. Thank you to those of you who've been there while it has been in a dormant stage. It is now ready for a complete refresh with brand new tiers. We have a voice note club, which is where I'll just be sharing thoughts about my day, instant reviews after I've seen a movie, something I'm thinking about when I've read a particular passage on a book, when I've just come out of the theatre, when I'm walking back from school. We have something I'm very excited about, which is Fight Club. So if you're here because you're a fan of wrestling and you've come from Wrestle Talk, we have that for you. I'm going to be doing a thing called Rosé and Wrestling, which is every couple of weeks I'll sit down with a glass of rosé and talk about the faff that has gone on in the wrestling industry. I'll also do pay-per-view reviews. That's hard to say. The other side of the coin is the COSY Club, because I know I almost have two separate audiences now. There is far more crossover than you'd imagine, though. But the COSY Club is all about book recommendations. We're going to have a book club where you can pick what book I'm going to read on my way to school. We'll talk about it. Movie recommendations, and when we pick what movie we're going to watch that month, I will create a recipe for a snack to have during the film. Maybe it's going to be like a cozy little drink. Maybe it's going to be like a cake. Maybe it'll just be whack some popcorn in a bowl and trust me, I want you to put some jelly babies in there. It could be many things. The world is our oyster. And then there's going to be a tier where you can get the wrestling and the cozy stuff if you want both, because trust me, they work together very well. So go and have a look, and if you think it's something you might be able for, get involved. It would be genuinely very helpful. I also would love to work out some like merch stuff. And I don't just mean like a t-shirt. I've had one of those. It was lit. I'm thinking I'd love a tea blend. I'd love a wooden spoon. I don't know, a candle. We'll have a think. We'll deal with that in a bit. But crucially, the most important and the most helpful thing you can do is just be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, because this has been such an odyssey and I couldn't have done it without you. And I'm so grateful, and I hope I can do you good. So, to quote Kinky Boots, even if it's not the song you should sing in your living room, let's put one foot onward and forward. This is step one.